If I would like label kolemoen like a faction to him, it would be either Monsters or Skellige. He's been known as a very solid King brand player, but he opts to not do that. And we got a mirror. It is civil war in Temeria as we got Foltest versus Foltest, but there's one clear difference in this deck, and we're seeing it right now. Kacper is running the Siege Tower, while kolemoen is running the Trebuchet.
But this is going to be otherwise a mirror match.
Yep, it is a mirror match.
Deck.
It is, like I said, a Temerian civil war right here. Foltest versus Foltest. And we see a mulligan there onto the Temerian infantry. Now, normally you don't want to keep that card in your opening hand, as it is very easy to draw later down the line, as you have 3 copies of it in your deck. Also, look at both of these decks right here. Both of them have 16 cards left, which means that their decks are 26 cards big.
Good old Vernon.
25.
That's what Vernon will do for you. Give you that extra blue stripe commando.
So that tells you that both are playing Vernon, even though we knew that before, but that gives you the information that your opponent is playing Vernon Roach because of that extra blue stripes commando in the deck.
If you are not putting them on Nova, of course. But I don't think you would necessarily do that. These Foltest lists, I mean, both players are going to know these lists pretty well. They don't know that the differences are so subtle in the machine choice of Trebuchet and Siege Tower. But, I mean, at this point, you might just say, just because this mirror is so close to identical decks, Kacper does have the disadvantage of having to play first.
And this is very important. In Northern Realms, especially in this Foltest machine mid-range deck, when it comes to these mirror matches, it's the one matchup in which you can make an argument for being in favor of going first. And that is because you get to play your crewmans before your opponent, which means that you get to empower your battering ram, which means that if he has the crewman pockets available, he can shut down the opposing blue stripe scouts as they're played with the battering ram because he has initiative. And this is very important. This is why kolemoen let off with Foltest, because he wants to avoid the battering ram capitalizing on his blue stripe scout, so he wants to buff it beforehand. And he also wants to hope for Kacper to not have the second blue stripe scouts, but he does. So this puts him in a predicament because if he does drop the first blue stripe scout, that battering ram is going to go down, it's going to knock it out, and also weaken the commando, which will not receive any further buffs from the other one. So this, it makes the mirror very intriguing, and we see him being forced to pass. He does not want to have them shut down like this.
Yeah, the advantage.
Very smart approach by kolemoen. This is exactly why he's doing this. He let off with Foltest. He got 2 of blue stripes out. He's like, okay, you're running out of crewmen, and I don't want to lose my scouts. I want to get all the value, but this is also very risky for him because he can brick. And he does.
1 commando.
Double commando. I mean, it's very likely to happen.
Yeah, that's the thing about thinning decks. I mean, Nilfgaard does this a lot, of course. Skellige, very, very good at thinning. If you don't thin your deck, you do risk drawing into the bricks. You know, you get your Foglets, you get your blue stripe commandos, you get, anything you would like to tutor out, which is always a risk, I guess, when you do that. But everything you said, absolutely true. kolemoen definitely wanted to play around the destruction of his own blue stripe scouts, and he wants to have an opportunity to play them as well. Now, Kacper can develop another crewman immediately to play that last blue stripe scout if he opts to play at all, if he wants to get that card back. If he thinks he has a better chance on even in this mirror, the option is to pass here.
The problem with dry passing here is that you are susceptible to breaking. Even though you're only going to draw 1 card next turn, the odds of it being a scout or an infantry are very high. And if you draw immediately one of those 2, you're going to be scared to mulligan it away because it's highly likely you draw the other one. So we do see Kacper taking advantage of the fact that the blue stripe scouts are lined up at 5 to drop Foltest to get that other commando out of the deck and lead off the match with a carryover play. That also gives him 11 points. So pretty solid, but it's also easy for kolemoen to overcome, which is Ronvid alone. Which is the play that I'm expecting. Or maybe perhaps the blue stripe scout. I think the blue stripe scouts makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because you want to, it's kind of a race. You want to play them before the double crewman happens, and the battering ram can knock them out in 1 hit. Now they're out of range.
Yeah, I also think that kolemoen probably doesn't really, now that he doesn't have control of the round, he wants to make sure that he gets as much thinning to probably every play he makes is going to be thinning related, because at any time Kacper can pass. I mean, obviously not at any time. There's going to be the opportunity to take the most favorable pass in this situation, and it's really just going to be about when Kacper thinks that he's going to be able to develop his win conditions. No golds in hand, very few golds in hand for kolemoen as well. The blue stripe scout, Stennis does represent a lot of points, but the Temerian infantry in Kasper's hand means that that needs to be played before Stennis in this situation, and that's a win condition. The Temerian Infantry is such a strong play. Whoever gets that bled out first, it could be the difference. Shawnee is going to be obviously a pretty huge focal point for Kolemoen. Likely going to see Stennis is probably your best bet, but again, Stennis pulls Temerian Infantry, which is such a huge commitment in the round. So yeah, when is Stennis going to be played, and how are these players going to react?
Elves must die.
Elves must die.
So much hatred within this country that they don't even see themselves as humans anymore. They just see them as elves.
It's true, I know. It's stop the Northern Realms on Northern Realms violence. It's just not fair. Kolemoen getting some good thinning out here. He is stuck with that last commando, and well, he does still have the Vernon commando, so I think that last scout will source that last commando, and the one in his hand will be hidden, I guess, at that point. So the information won't come out for Kolemoen.
Yeah, that he's bricked. But it also is, like I said, dangerous, because if he does draw, for example, an infantryman right off the bat, he has to mulligan the commando, and he's at risk of drawing a second Temerian infantry, which can put him in a very, very awkward spot. So he may be encouraged to play Stennis early on in this match, as we see the pass from Kacper.
On the even score of 26-26, Kolemoen can actually play that commando if he wants to. I think that actually might not be a bad idea.
The thing is, do you take the risk and believe in the heart of the cards and go for the Blue Stripe Scout for more thinning and overall residual buildup? Or you drop Ronvid here, because you want that crewman anyways. Or, like, he has 3 options: Scout, Commando, or Ronvid. And he's probably debating which one of these 3 he wants to play. The Commando is, like, the safest play, but it's also the I'm playing not to lose play. And I think Kolemoen, he believes his deck has no pathetic cards. He believes he will draw properly, and he believes he won't get bricked. So
yeah,
we'll
if he draws
see.
the other commando here,
This is key. This is
super
very key.
Unfortunate.
It can really dictate how this match ends. These draws right here for Kolemoen. There's a marching orders. He has to mulligan away the commando, and he's free. He'll probably draw an infantry here, or not even an infantry.
Stennis is going to be a huge power play in this situation. Gets Selkirk. Kacper holding on to Vernon Roche. Kolemoen with Shawnee and Selkirk. Shawnee, the res targets aren't, while Reaver Scout, I guess, is something that could work for one of those battering rams. There are only 2 trebuchets.
I'm expecting Vernon Brochure to go down and one-shot that scout. He doesn't want to have extra crewmen. So to deny the crewmen immediately is very important, because that's a big difference between these two. Kacper has played all of his scouts, while Kolemoen does have that last one that could really provide Kolemoen with a lot of extra value due to the crewman tag. So that may be the prime target for Vernon right there. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it all lines up 7-7 with the pull on the commando.
To not do that. He just goes with
He's going to go for
crewman.
Ronvid himself. I mean, if it's going to come down to value card for card in this mirror, the crewmen need to be even.
And I guess he's not in a rush, because Ronvid did not spawn in the same row, right? So it's not like he can...
He can't get the big.
He doesn't have
value.
the big pocket for it, yeah.
I'm interested to see the trebuchets and how they perform for Kolemoen over the series in general. I mean, this is going to be a fairly long round, so you could. I mean, the Temerian infantry, especially in the mirror here, the Temerian infantry line right up for it. So that's going to be very beneficial for Kolemoen. And if you can get the crewmen or even 2 on it, depending if, well, I think at this point that's almost impossible to get 2 crewmen lined up here with Ronvid down there. A little bit of weather. Forcing the hand of Death Mold, perhaps.
Yep. I would very much expect that play here. Weather can be absolutely devastating in such a long round 3 like this.
We've seen it already a couple times in the series. Just you get that weather down or that moonlight down in a long series, it can actually edge you out. You just need to win by 1 more point. If you get that extra value out of the cards in the mirror, it's just so important to get more value out of your cards than your opponent. So far, it's been pretty tight.
Kacper here trying to overcome his ultimate senpai, the man who has taken him down more than any other, according to him, in the pro ladder. As he goes for the weather clear right here and pretty much denies the value from Vettermaker there.
Now Kolemoen could actually, if he wanted to keep weather ticking, he could maybe want to line up 2 units on a row. Death Mold could provide that if there's no decent removal to look at. Given that there's 2 battering rams in Casper's hand, the removal of the The battering ram isn't going to be as pivotal to deny the Reaver Scout here. I think that that's probably going to work as Selkirk comes down. These cowards, these dogs have no honor.
I like what you said earlier in regards to there's a big debate, or there's an argument to be made for both of these bronzes, right? Taking up this last slot in
The machines,
when it comes to Trebuchet and Siege Towers. I'm personally a fan of Siege Tower because I feel that it blocks Scorch.
Yep.
It's also more reliable because it's not a reactive card, it's a proactive card. It doesn't have the ceiling that Trebuchet has. Like Trebuchet has a maximum value output of 16, 17 if you count the buff from Voltist, while Siege Tower can reach up to 15. So it's 2 more points, right? And it will, I believe, make a difference in this particular matchup because they do have the perfect target right there.
This is the
with
rain,
the infantry, but. You can make an argument for both. I said, I think Siege Towers are more overall consistent and reliable, but kolemoen is a big fan of Trebuchets, and Trebuchets do have a lot of very good matchups, like, for example, Nilfgaard Soldiers.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps like right now, you could say that the Trebuchets are going to get a lot of value, but there's the rain. Kolemoen opting to stick with pushing in with weather, and now there's no clears, and there's no weather coming down on Casper's side since Death Mold was used, and there's no Vader Maker available at the moment. Stennis could potentially pull it. It's not bad odds, but the fact that you don't have Dijkstra available or something that's going to be able to source you a lot of cards, that weather is just going to really get work done. As
but Vader Maker doesn't clear weather though.
Weather, that's exactly right, Mogwai. Yeah. That's right.
he can use Stennis to stall out a little bit, like play Stennis and whatever Stennis pulls onto that row, because Stennis does have 3 armor, and he pulls something and adds 5 armor to it. So that's a good way to mitigate a bit of the damage from the rain, but other than that, he doesn't really have any other solution to this, and it is indeed a huge problem. The fact that kolemoen got access to both his sources of weather, and he used them offensively, and he kind of took the initiative with that play, forcing Casper to clear, has put him in a rather awkward position here, as that rain keeps on ticking, and the point gap is starting to show, especially that Trebuchet hitting the front row for a total of 14 points.
Yeah,
right?
it was 14 points. It's interesting. Kolemoen chose to rain that
more
row.
by math, damn it.
Kolemoen chose to rain the row that was the best row for Trebuchet, which actually, in a long run, is taking value away from that row. You could have made a case to play the rain on the siege row. I believe was there 2 units on the row at the time.
Well, the thing is that this round is going to be long, but I don't think it's going to be long enough for the rain to take out 21 points, so I think he can actually, he can actually afford to direct one of the Trebuchets at that row and not lose rain value, because it's going to deal 2 damage each turn, and he still has 11 points there, and it's 5, it's two
he could afford
damage
to
each
play
turn.
1 Trebuchet.
Yeah, he could afford 1, because he's still not going to clear that row by the end of this game. There's going to be 1 more point there if nothing else was played there. So that Trebuchet was really well done, but the next one definitely has to hit a different row. Right now, he does have a target in the range row, but he would miss out on technically 1 target, because hitting Ronvid doesn't really mean anything, because he's a stubborn fella.
Yeah, it's true. It does cancel the crewman for that next turn, at least.
That's true.
So if kolemoen is anticipating that being an issue, at least he can control that. But yeah, it's a wasted point. It's a wasted ping. Kolemoen has got so many points right now, and he's got a pretty strong hand as well. Stennis still has the Temerian infantry available. It's not guaranteed, but it's very, very high odds that he's going to get that 25-pointer. And then, of course, the Trebuchet is going to just continue to get a row, probably to work with either on ranged or siege. The battering ram is fine at this point, and then Shawnee can resurrect the Reaver Scout to get the other battering ram out. So kolemoen's got a pretty solid game plan at this point.
You have to Stennis here.
And there's Stennis.
Yep, setting up
to counter the weather. I
yep.
think that's where my brain was going, where I was talking about Vader Maker helping out Casper, not so much to clear the weather, but to equalize the continuous point degeneration. I said it with purpose, and then when you corrected me, I'm like, why did I say that? So at least at this point,
that's why we're a team, Dave.
That's why we're a team. Mi hermano, Mogwai. So now kolemoen's got Trebuchet targets for days at this point. I mean, the armor hurts. Actually, I'll take that back, because the armor is gonna. Actually, very good placement for Casper. Actually denies Trebuchet value on that row.
Exactly. Very good point there. The fact that he plays Stennis and Vader Maker there in between the infantries makes it so that the trebuchet doesn't really want to target that row anymore. And the thing is, he can't really avoid, especially because, well, these rams are kind of working against trebuchets a bit.
He's almost got too much damage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's clearing too much.
52 to 26.
And I definitely expect that trebuchet to be his last play. But he has a, like, literally right now, kolemoen is double the points of kacper. Like, he's 26 points ahead. So even though kacper is one card up, like he's yet to play his own card here, he's got a lot of climbing to do. And this Vernon bro here is only 14 points because, you know, his the 7 remaining strength already got put on the board earlier. So he's 10 points behind, even though the fog is going to be ultimately dealing more damage. Not in total, but from now on because of the armor. Well, it depends. It depends on because the rain is random at the same time, right?
Bogwai, correct me if I'm wrong, but out of the 4 cards in Casper's deck, are 3 of them gold cards? Is it Selkirk, Dijkstra, and Shawnee? And then I guess I think not even one of the battering rams. That's not very lucky draws there for Kacper. Definitely is getting edged out here, and it's looking like just in a big way. kolemoen just has more power.
Oh, well, talk about bad luck, though.
No, that's not what you want to see at all when you have 3 Temerians in your... Oh, man, that pass.
Oh, and the ram would have pulled it out, too. Oh, feels bad, man.
Well, the ram wouldn't have pulled it out.
Oh, yeah. What am I talking about? Sorry. It's not Temerian, yeah.
That's why we're a team on. Why we covered this.
I'm a Guardian, okay? I don't care about machines.
It's too bad.
I actually do care about machines.
That's basically just the last 14 points.
Angry at my failure. All right, there we go. Down goes the ram onto the commando. Gonna get another hit. Hovering over Shawnee, but not CERN yet. Going over the trebuchet instead. Doesn't really make a difference at this point. His last 2 plays are pretty much purely proactive. He is still 9 points behind. And
the trebuchet is gonna probably
even though he managed to get that, like, you want to play the siege towers next to the crewmen, right? So you kind of are gonna stack up that row. But Ronvid is going to absorb a little bit of value, but he is so far behind. He has not been lucky at all.
It's full armor, not a single drop of rain has touched those units. As the siege tower comes down, kolemoen up 10 with the trebuchet play that can get, I believe that's 13 points. On, well, not really, they're more like 12 because Ronvid's going to come back.
Stennis,
so 12 points.
That guy. He only cares about himself. Doesn't even take 1 drop of water.
But that siege tower is not going to be enough to eclipse this here, and kolemoen making the mirror look pretty good here.
That pass at the beginning was so key, and also, you know, the fact that Kacper did not draw 3 of his golds definitely does make a difference as well. But kolemoen takes the first game, wins the Temerian Civil War, and goes on to, you know, 1-0 over Kacper.
It was a well-played match. I think Kacper, his hands were just tied. He just didn't draw the same level of power as kolemoen. kolemoen did get unlucky with the Stennis, and that was actually pretty huge. Kind of just on a relatively, when you look at how much value Stennis could have been there. But Kacper just didn't really get things off the ground. He didn't get a solution to kind of balance off that weather. He took a lot of extra damage on that. He missed a couple of drops of rain, but it was just kolemoen just had too many points in the end there. So kolemoen
very solid performance. I think the play of that game was the pass, the way he approached, the way he's very experimental with his deck, and he knows that it is vulnerable actually when going second in the mirror. He knew that if he just, you know, auto-played it like you usually do and played the Blue Stripe Scouts, they would have been taking battering rams to the face. He said no to that, dropped the leader, and then passed, and led off to a long round 3, in which he was quite dominant and utilized weather to really overwhelm Kacper right there, who also got a bit unlucky with the raindrops. But ultimately, both players did draw. Like, kolemoen also had some breaks here and there. And now we go from Civil War to North versus South.
A little bit more lore friendly here.
I'm totally not biased in this matchup by any means, but, you know, praise Amir, praise the Empire. Get that out of the way.
Just get that out of the way.
Good luck to both.
So kolemoen running Alchemy, fairly standard. I think that it's running some of the newer. I mean, we got Guardian Roaches in this list as well. That's pretty common as well. I don't think the kolemoen's list for Alchemy stands out as being anything anything spicy really. But he is running Kahir, which is sometimes risky, but in this situation not, as Casper doesn't have a way of destroying Calvin in any way. So Calvin is 100% safe here. But knowing your opponent has Kahir in other matchups can be really important information, because you basically deny a win condition. When you destroy it.
It brings up a very interesting debate, because on ladder it is a monstrous gold. It has the ability to resurrect your leader, and paired with John Calvate, Kahir is pretty much considered a staple for a lot of Nilfgaard decks. The thing is, in the tournament scene, especially if you advance through the quarterfinals, from semifinals onwards, your opponent knows your deck list. And if they know you have Kahir, while is perhaps one of the most powerful golds in the game, it's also one of the most disruptible. If you target your Mandrake towards John Calvate and deny Kahir, you can just nullify their leader resurrection and convert that powerful gold into just a 1-strength play for round 3. So I think it's risky to bring Kahir to a tournament. But then again, kolemoen has never shied away from risk, as he is prone to bringing consume monsters, which is also a list that has dropped down in popularity in opens due to how counterable it is. He doesn't really care. He believes in it, and he keeps on bringing it, and he keeps on winning. So I like seeing Kahir in his lineup, and in this particular matchup, Kahir will have nothing to worry about. There won't be no way to disrupt it, and it will be very strong in round 3.
And it's not like Mandrake isn't a popular card in general. So kolemoen, we'll see maybe in the future here. In this matchup, he's safe, and if he wins, then that's going to be the end of that discussion. But in the future, should kolemoen advance, it could be a liability for him.
That Viper Witcher through the reconnaissance was key for kolemoen. It denies the Reaver Scout onto the last Blue Stripe Scout and shuts down Casper's thinning and also carryover strength plays. That was very good that he managed to pull that through reconnaissance. And even though he had another one in hand, he knew 100% that he was going to pull it due to the structure of his deck. Right, he's only running Viper Witcher and Vicar Novice. It's something important to note. kolemoen's Alchemy Nilfgaard does not run Vico Varomedic, so his reconnaissances are very accurate, actually.
Well, let's get this party started. I think we're gonna open up the taps here for these Viper Witchers. Start thinning the deck.
That's what Nilfgaardians do, man. We party, or we swallow
potions. Swallow those potions. I mean, it's just all about thinning at this point for kolemoen. He can use his novices to get the swallow potions. The Mahaka Mail is out. Build his graveyard out for the ointment. Use his Sira potentially offensively for spy in the future, or just restock his deck for more pulls with the novice. Ultimately, he's going to play Calvin at some point, so he's going to be pushing pretty hard still.
Hovering over the graveyards there. kolemoen in his infamous kolemoen mode. Focused, determined.
Casper's got the tunnel vision going. Yeah. A little light tunnel vision.
Little life coach grasshopper right here.
Here's our chance.
Lots of value coming up from the Viper Witchers at this point.
The thing is, when Viper Witcher hits for full damage, you get also some information about what your opponent's bronze lineup is like, as it does tell you exactly how many alchemy cards the opponent has in their deck. Which, any little amount of information, especially in the quarterfinals when you don't have your opponent's deck list available, is very key.
And kolemoen actually running the 10-point Viper Witchers, where 11 points has kind of become the new standard. We saw in Demorcus' list running 11. Just that little bit of extra fine-tuning once that slot was freed up from Slave Driver. Just a little bit more creativity was in there for teching in things like Marjoram, adding things like Swallow Potion, which didn't exist in previous Alchemy. So making Viper Witch is actually even stronger, making Alchemy still as formidable as ever in this meta.
Now we go chug. Now we drink. Vicar always picks up the Macamail and helps kolemoen thin even further. Still has to play John Calvate at one point, because that's what Kahir kind of forces you to do.
kolemoen thinning a little bit before he sees Calvate, just so he can make sure he has just doesn't want to get
exactly. That's what
anything,
you do.
You don't want to see any ointments. You don't want to have a triple ointment situation. Not that you would, because he's holding one, but just the more thinning you do, the better cards like John Calvate and other cards like Stennis in this situation, like Dijkstra, those cards just increase in value with every turn that goes by, that you can afford to not play them. Because when you do play them and you get the big points, and then of course Kahir is going to seal the deal. No Mandrake, no Vesemir available at this point for Kolemoen, so Cahir is going to be less potent than he could be with the 11-point Calvet.
Now, Dan, you're a lore specialist, or at least I considered you one. What does Triss say there? Would that be the second Masadin? What is a Masadin?
Oh, she's talking about the Battle of Sodden Hill, and I actually don't know too much about that. I'm okay.
You disappoint me heavily,
I'm
Dave.
okay
I believe in
lore-wise,
you.
but she's talking about the Battle of Sodden Hill specifically, and just doesn't want to see it again.
I thought it was like some weird English. I just wanted to make sure.
But it's possible that those are spoilers anyway, so I'm going to do y'all a service and not explain it. Yes, that's where I'm coming from on that one. But yes, that is what she's saying. It's the other thing that she says, the incantation. I have no idea what that is.
Incantation.
She just says like a bunch of words.
That's all I got.
Yeah, the voice line from Witcher 2. Yeah, anything about Witcher 2, I can probably answer that. But this one, I'm lost here as Kacper drops another siege tower, getting the double crewman there from Ronnie Varanvid and Full Test. Kolemoen is in a pretty good spot here, but this is the Calvet turn, as everything else is more or less more efficient, better value later on. So it could be Calvet, and let's see where we are at that point. But
he has to be careful, though.
It could be such a surge in points that Kacper may not be able to play into it.
He has to be careful. He is currently 3 points ahead, so Kolemoen does have a potential pass here to get a card out of Kacper. If he plays into Calvet, he enters the risk of his opponent pulling a Temerian infantry play and thus catching up. And that could be quite devastating for Kolemoen because he could lose on even, as the rest of his hand is pretty much unplayable at this stage. And this is risky. This is not a strong play. This is a 15-point play. If Kacper can obtain a 19-point play or higher,
but he
will put him in a bad spot.
He had to play Calvet, because if Kacper takes the round in open passes, then Cahir is useless.
No, he just drops John Calvet then in the open pass.
In the open pass, but I mean, I guess that's a.
He was thinking about it. He took the risk, I think, and if Kacper goes for Stennis here and pulls, because he's not risking of pulling like a Reaver Scout. If he pulls the infantry, he will surpass him in points, and he will put Kolemoen in an awkward spot here.
Going to be Reaver Scout instead. So, I mean, the siege tower does do a decent job,
but not enough. This is Kolemon's pass. He played right into his pass.
There's just really no play here. You don't want to play a seer early in the other two cards. You're waiting for a little bit later.
But he did at the same time.
Would you not just play the
No, don't play Stennis. That's too risky, right? What are you?
I'm not afraid.
Oh no, of course.
Because it's on top of the deck. Hidden text, my friends. Stennis always pulls off the top of the deck.
In my defense, he killed the Guardian early on in the round, and I forgot about it.
That was really early. Yeah, that was. The Guardian was a super
it got
early
battering rammed. I remember now. I forgot. Yeah. So he couldn't go for that. Okay. And now he has a good shiny res
triple
anyways.
Ointment in hand here for Kolemoen.
I mean,
not too shabby.
No, it's not that bad at all.
Mandrake also. Mandrake
Mandrake is good in round one to deny Blue Stripe Scouts potentially.
Yeah, it's not as potent as it could be. But Kolemoen with the extra card and getting to go with Cahir last, be able to set up stuff with set up a little bit more with the Sira. Kolemon's in a pretty good spot right here. Kacper has a decent hand. Dijkstra is pretty wild. Dijkstra can pull an insane amount of points. Temerian infantry is still available. The reinforcement is going to assure it if Dijkstra doesn't pull it. Although the reinforcement likely may be used to make Dijkstra better.
Yeah, it probably will.
Oh well, no. You want to thin the Temerians out so you don't get double Temerian infantry. Kacper, is he thinking about it? You don't want to get caught with double Temerian infantry.
Well, I mean, no, you gotta pass. You can't risk it. You can't risk the biscuit here. That infantry, that reinforcements will pull out the infantry, and that's fine, I believe. I think we'll see a Zyre go down in here from Kolemoen, or maybe an Ointment onto a Vic of Our Novice to thin an extra alchemy card out of the deck. That also makes sense.
Kacper is just calculating.
Especially because I think he may want to mulligan away that Mandrake potentially, and if he plays a Zyre now, he puts Roach back into the deck, so that really makes his mulligan dangerous. So I think Ointment into Vic of Our Novice to thin here is indeed the correct play.
That
yep,
is.
getting that beer out.
Now, how did that incantation go?
Sorry, that Mahakam Ale.
Now, Kolemoen with Cahir and the draw here is almost 100% on knowing what he's going to be able to source from Calvet. So we haven't seen Vilja Forts yet, so that could be on the draw or something that's available from Calvet.
I think Mandrake goes here.
There's Cantarella.
Oh no, you can see it in his face. Oh.
Well, it's a juicy target for Viper Witchers, but he only has the one ointment, so it's not.
Yeah, but you never want to
probably-
give your opponent 13 points in the last round. It's
Especially with
It's not
Dijkstra
good.
can do so much
Not a
damage.
good
This
thing.
the Temerian infantry now in hand for Casper.
Yep.
He's going to be able to play that probably right away. Get that out of the way. Thin
Casper's
one more
late game
time.
is looking powerful, but
deadly.
don't ever underestimate a Kahir into Vilgefortz. That is just so nasty. But the thing is, of course, that Cantrella really, really sets kolemoen back here.
Think he holds Cantarella to be the last card? No. No,
We'll see.
He wouldn't do that.
Well, the thing is, if he returns Roach, now he kind of like hurts his draw a little bit, right? Well, he's
I
gonna
mean,
drop
the
his Ire
option here
first.
for, I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
he wants to break the DJ.
Yeah, you put Roach in for Kahir, and then, because you didn't get the, and there's, yeah.
A commando, right?
Yeah, and I think the Casper, when he was highlighting Dijkstra before, this is what he was worried about. He was worried about having a bad pull.
Yeah. Azire is very, very devastating against Dijkstra in round 3. kolemoen very concentrated round right now.
I think Asira is one of the reasons why I personally have a really hard time playing cards like Dijkstra. It's just because she can just be, it's so scummy when she puts the spy back in the deck, and then Dijkstra, you're just playing points on your opponent's board, and it just, nothing's going right.
Well, you kind of sounded like a hater to me talking about Azire that way. You know,
Oh,
she's an Nilfgaardian.
do I,
She's
Mogwai?
a Nilfgaardian.
Well, I guess I can't hide my
She's
emotions
beautiful and
about
she's
that card.
strong and independent and fantastic.
Don't defend it. Don't defend that play. Poor Dijkstra just wants to spin a tune. Asira's all over the place. You're the worst party girl.
That infantryman is such a strong play in round 3, though. It's 18 points right now, but if he does get the scout, they turn into 21.
Here comes the big play. Kahir into Calvit. There's Roach
Pulling
going to take
Roach
a
out.
peek.
And
he
we
does
do.
have
Oh,
Vesemir
he has
and
Vilgefortz.
Vilgefortz pulls Vesemir.
Oh, that is so
good.
clean.
So clean. Gets
That
the
is
Mandrake
so
from Vesemir.
clean.
Surgical.
That is, wow, that is just like,
There
that's
you go.
dreamy.
We follow.
Man, and with
We follow
Cantarella, you
let
thin to
those
zero. It's everything you want, just maybe not in the order
Okay,
you
how
want
many
it.
points with that? How many points? That's 5, okay, math time. Mogwai math time. 14, 20, 25, let's screw this up. 31.
10, 15.
That was 31 points.
Are you counting the burn Kahir?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless like 9 plus 5 is now 14, and I'm very dumb, but I think it is. It is.
It was an impressive play. It is showing why Kahir is, when uncontested, is just one of the strongest goals, but it's just so vulnerable. I think that the power level is fairly balanced in the counterplay with Kahir, but man, just imagine Calvit was 11 points as well. It just gets even crazier from there. kolemoen's going to be able to put a lot of points here. That Cantarella does draw the final card in kolemoen's deck, and I believe
There's
that
the ghoul.
card. Oh, you got the ghoul on the Guardian.
There's like a 50% chance for you to pull Ghoul, by the way. So it's like actually, oh my god, that is so much. It kind of feels bad that he has to give his opponent like 13 points. Like,
Well, did kolemoen play the Reconnaissance? If kolemoen did not play the Reconnaissance, maybe Casper takes a peek at the graveyard again, but that means that Cantarella is actually not pulling anything.
oh, the
did he
DJ
get
does
it?
not get screwed. No, he did not get the blue stripe commando out. This is very. Wait, what?
Dodged a bullet here.
Wait, why?
Now, how
Wait.
did that incantation
What?
go?
What was the confusion there? The
Oh,
batting-
no,
the batting ram
never
had
mind.
no-
He doesn't have a crewman. Never
Yeah,
mind.
batting ram
No.
didn't have any,
Yeah,
didn't have
Okay,
any
no.
support
For
there.
a second, I thought there was. There wasn't a crewman there, so he couldn't capitalize on it. He missed out on a lot there just because of that, though.
Yeah,
by one
Dijkstra was
point.
underwhelming. That is
Yeah,
not-
just because he misses out. Like if he was able to if he had like Ronvid there.
Ronvid, Shawnee would have been pretty decent, I think, as well.
Oh boy.
Casper has just not been able to draw. His goals have been very heavy in this game here, and kolemoen's coming down with the Viper Witcher. I mean, it's at this point with the reinforcements pulling. What's the best thing that
Okay,
Casper
so
can pull? Ronvid?
Selkirk's is 20 points. Oh man, that Azire, that beautiful Azire there. Wait, he didn't return. No. We got it all wrong. Then he didn't return the commando. He returned the.
He returned, and there is Selkirk that's just able to
And
edge
he's
it out.
got him, but he
could-
returned the Ronvid. He returned Ronvid.
Ronvid at one point. That is what happened there.
But Kacper does get the win right there regardless, and does get the victory with King Foltest. King Foltest going 2-0 in these first games. A victory for the Northern Realms on both sides, as kolemoen does have Jan Calvate and Brewer Hoog versus Kacper's Brewer of his own and Croc List, which happens to be a Greatswords.
Yeah, that is Greatswords Croc. So kolemoen did have that was the reconnaissance. The reconnaissance was the last card in kolemoen's deck.
Yeah,
there,
but it happened so fast. Like
yeah.
the thing is, like it's not like I thought it was a blue stripes commando, because the animation is very quick, and unless you like look into the graveyard constantly, you don't realize it. But I mean, at the same time, that's when I started to think about it, because when he played the battering ram and didn't have the target, the crewman for it, it's like, well, something must have happened to Ronvid. And it was that Azire, that cheeky Azire. Instead of wanting to disrupt the Dijkstra because he wasn't completely certain that he had it, because he didn't show it in the prior match.
It still disrupts Dijkstra because it can still be played from the deck. And
Exactly.
that's actually worse.
It's actually worse.
Commando later on.
It's just overall better. It's a better play, and it's a play that can only happen if you go first that round.
Let's switch it completely over to Scoia'tael versus Skellige. Finally, we're free from the Northern Realms. Nilfgaard will live to fight another day on kolemoen's side. And now we're going to see good old Shoop. Shoop's back. Shoop is
the
back.
opening hand. It always feels good to have Shoop. You know what doesn't feel good, though? To have a gold like Aeglis in your opening hand in a matchup against Skellige. That just feels bad, man.
Yeah, Aeglis does not perform well.
Though
There's the mulligan to show how kolemoen feels about that. Agreeing with you, Magwe.
Kacper is running Mandrake in this Croc list, so Aeglis could find value here. Find ridiculous value.
That's true. I mean, you can't put your opponent on play. Like, there are some Skellige lists, there are some Greatsword lists that function on still using the engines of ships and Greatswords, but also have a control element between Mandrake and potentially something like artifact compression, just to make sure that maybe in the mirror you have a little bit of an upper hand on point generation. But Kacper with the Mandrake, not expected by kolemoen, but also probably not expected to play early enough as well to get Aeglis value there, as in this situation, Kacper is opting to play the ships to get things started, put the Pirate Captain in the graveyard for Restore, which sources that huge late game play that Greatswords can do. That doesn't even really need the Greatswords to execute. Like it's just that extra little thing that Greatswords has. Just such one of the strongest decks in the meta.
kolemoen leads off with the Hog of Support, gonna buff the Elven Swordmaster in his hand. Elven Swordmaster does deal damage upon entry equal to its own power, so now it will be a 16-point swing, and a very reliable control tool, as it will be able to shut down great swords. Not ships though. Ships reaching 9 immediately if they ping upon entry does make them less vulnerable to removal, as right now, looking at kolemoen's list and his options, I don't really see many ways for him to deal with that. He does have Ida and Vettermaker, which he can access through Brewer.
Yep.
So those can be used to zap, but he may just utilize all of his removal and focus on the great swords to deny them from growing.
Panther takes one out. Yeah. The Swordmaster takes one out. Triss can take one. Triss, actually, sorry, there's no. There is a Marjoram in kolemoen's list for Triss, but no Thunder actually.
Wow, an early. Wilfred!
Well, I think maybe this was probably. I mean, kolemoen was kind of using his privilege on red coin there to play a little slower. So Kacper's going ahead and making some of his biggest plays here. So it's possible that he's just trying to push kolemoen in a really tough position here.
Also,
for
you know what he's doing? He's playing around that big cat.
That's true. Yeah, the cat.
He's stacking the range rows so that the cat cannot take down, because the Panther will not be able to damage a row that has 4 or more units.
kolemoen's going to move that skull with a Vride Brigade so it doesn't get the same value.
Nice play.
It's going to be harder for it to be dealt with,
Dies.
as there is no direct ping here for Kacper. Kacper nodding, understanding here.
Very solid play by Kacper right there. Not rushing the great swords, understanding the matchup, knowing that every single Scoia'tael Shoop list under the sun plays Panther, and denying that card any value. Even though eventually he'll have to put cards in other rows, because it is easy for a deck like Great Swords to overstack one row. Like, there's a lot of tutors going on there. But for the time being, as long as he leaves like the tutor cards in other rows, like cards like Pirate Captain, for example, out of the way, he doesn't care if Panther attacks that, because it'll just be a 5-point play, right? So very good, very solid positioning, and a very key buff right there.
This is actually huge. Yeah, Sigurdrifa can actually res Herald later on if Genja isn't used, and that's just
3 more
massive
points
when you get that strength in play. If that's how the game goes, of course. It may not actually go that way. Genja could be absolutely required in this match, but with the skulls already going down, it may seem like Kacper is probably going to hold on to Krak for as long as he possibly can. He still has a ship he can develop. The greatswords are just going to get removed. This is what happens. Good greatsword players, when they know removal is a threat, will play ships before greatswords every time. So in this situation here, because the ships, you have multiple ways of getting the ships back, and the greatswords just won't get the value that you need them to get. But the thing about greatswords is you don't really need the greatswords to actually perform very, very well. Like I said, the Restore Pirate Captain combo is so strong, and that's all about resurrecting the machine. So how the greatswords ultimately play in this matchup, we'll see. But here comes the removal. Things are getting started here. There's Ida for the first removal, and Kacper can just kind of think about how much leeway he has here to play these cards.
That Ida play also enables the Sage in his hand, as it will be able to recycle that Althor's Thunder. And he still has a lot of steam going on, especially when it comes to his reactive capabilities. He does not have access to his other Silver Mage and Vetter Maker, which means that it pretty much comes down to Sage and maybe a Decoy, as he does have a Elven Swordmaster as well. But Elven Swordmaster cannot take down a ship.
Man, the Shoop Scoia'talis is, especially with Bruver at the helm, is such a Swiss Army knife. It's just you have so many options, and this is very different. Kolemoen's list running very different to the list that we saw earlier in the Pronio matchup. That was more about damage. That was more about trying to execute all across rows or on multiple row stacks, whereas this one is more about. It's more about removal, more about control. That was, of course, was an Ethna list. Ethna and Bruver both being able to captain Shoop lists. It's just, you have just so many options for removal here, and greatswords will struggle. And generally, Scoia'tael Shoop tends to have very few bad matchups, and I wouldn't be surprised if at one point we're going to see a ban of this in this tournament.
Well, if it does have a bad matchup, it is considered to be greatswords. Down goes the Song of Steel, the Elven Swordmaster, with the most menacing voice line out there. Going down and taking out the Cool Story Greatsword there. Kacper does have access to another one in hand, but is running a list with, is it Genji? Because I always call him Jenga. I almost call him Django.
I say, well, I mean, Django Unchained. I say Genja personally.
Genja Unchained. So Genja Unchained is basically Genja Fret. Is the highest strength unit in Kacper's deck. Some greatswords deck run him, others don't. The big issue with running Genja, this sounds weird, Genja in this list is that it blocks your Croc from pulling out a greatsword from your deck, right? So it's kind of, it's the big downside to that. But other, but I mean, having that out of the way gives you a very powerful play alongside Herald Houndsnout. And because he's been able to strengthen Herald Houndsnout, I think Kacper may be thinking about not utilizing Croc until round 3 and combining it with Sigurdrifa.
That's what I was saying, and I think that's pretty realistic. Yeah. We know the Restore is going to be Pirate Captain. The Muzzle is just going to be a value play because there's no engines to steal, and this isn't a mirror where his greatsword is going to get stolen. He needs to steal it back. So Muzzle's likely just going to be 16 points. The greatsword is not great because it's just a sword in that case, because it's just going to get removed. And then, of course, Sigurdrifa is going to get massive value later on, and Udalric will help turn the coin flip around a little bit for Kacper when he decides to do that. But ultimately, Croc is just such a massive, massive play, and having Herald Houndsnout later on just could be enough to push past the Shoop here, as the greatsword's finally coming down here. It keeps him ahead.
Barely.
Best time to do it, I guess.
Also
at this point,
gets 4 units there too, which again disables Panther. It's just very solid sequencing here by Kacper, playing around Panther. It really is making a difference here, and it's making Kolemoen, reach a very awkward state.
I think Kolemoen still has a lot of options at this point.
Decoy onto Ida, I think, is going to happen here. He really can't. He really doesn't want the engine to go on. Yep. Gonna zap down that greatsword.
Why have you summoned me?
And at this point, Yavin is, there's actually is it 100%? It is if a recon hasn't been played yet, Yavin is 100% to grab Marjoram, which is pretty big for that long ship, which would be able to reset it and weaken it as well. If Kolemon's able to play both of those cards in this round, of course.
Hovering over the graveyard right there. Thinking. Because we saw kacper almost take like an early pass there when the scores were tied. So he definitely was thinking about it. And again, I think that further proves, you know, the idea that he's hovering over it now.
He wants to bring back a greatsword.
That's a strong commitment, though. Okay, he has to go with this instead.
Well, he's doing
I
this
think
part,
he's
but
still- I think he's
going to
still
go for
going with
the
that.
the full-on jet. Just going to bring back
This is
the
strong.
ships here, get value out of those Corsairs. I mean, we saw this in GWENT Open number 5. Some games live and die by Corsairs actually getting value or not. But in this matchup, it's different. Kolemon's been having to use his removal on the ship, which gives the Corsairs value in round 1. So being able to actually execute that play, which is such a strong late game play, but still preserve Croc and Sigdrifa into Herald Houndsnow potentially, is huge. However, on playing Udalric, Kolemon at least can answer with Yavin, which would give him the Mardro to take this round decisively, I think, on that longship.
That Ryehead Brigade early on in this matchup was so good.
Moving that skull.
Yeah,
Give
it
Kolemon
prevents
1 point.
so much. Like it really like it looks like a 9 strength card, but it's worth way more than that basically. Like it's a big deal.
Oh, I mean, on the ladder, it's so. I mean, every time I play Dagon, my opponent has that card in his hand.
Right.
Every time. It just gets so much value. There's the Margot getting it from the Elven Mercenary, which means Yavin's now pulling the Reconnaissance one way or another. But that is massive, of course. That ship was at 20 points.
That was a strong swing. And
Game's
he still
still very
has,
close.
He has another Margarine potentially through Trish right there.
There's that value muzzle.
Yeah, 16-point muzzle. Casper's still 13 points ahead of Kolemon with 2 engines ticking.
Triss is the only answer to actually keep this close.
Panther does have a decent target. Now, Panther
true.
can actually give Kolemon 11 points.
Yeah, the muzzle
Poggers.
actually. I mean, yeah, that worked in Kolemon's favor.
The cat will get to eat something.
But the ticks on the ship, though, is it enough?
I don't think so. But I mean, he is going second, right? So he's not necessarily forced.
Going
to.
down a card with Shoop. I mean,
Yeah.
Shoop's pretty strong. Shoop
And he does have
pretty
even
strong.
as well. Even though playing a spy against Skellige is risky, as they can turn it out, and we do see
take
a
his card.
pass from Kolemon there. Not wanting to be put in that position. And Casper does take the first round, and I think we may very well be seeing that
Yeah,
round
Casper's
3.
pretty happy about this. I think now he has control of the game.
Yep, he's happy. He's
And
hovering
he's
over
got-
Sigdrifa
he knows-
and Crack. He knows he's gonna do that.
Yeah.
He's gonna go for it. And he doesn't like the thing about this matchup is he has his own Ulderic in his hand, right? He has no way to tutor it out, but he doesn't really have to fear that because he knows that Scoia'tael has no way to tutor out Yavin unless they have Dandelion Poet. So he knows that his spy play won't get countered by a tutor card or a card, chaining alongside Yavin right there to force them to keep on playing to get that card back. So he can safely play the spy basically as he's gonna mulligan away. Oh, but Yanga is.
He got Genja, so that changes Crack a little bit. It doesn't change. I mean, yeah, that.
I think he may be encouraged to mulligan away anyways, but I think we're definitely gonna see Ulderic go down here just to thin his deck. Because, like I said, he has nothing to fear in that sense. He knows that Kolemon, like, unless he's playing Dandelion Poet, he knows that. And you don't see Dandelion Poet in Scoia'tael Shoop list because their gold lineup is actually pretty stacked.
It's pretty tight. I mean, the list is it's the silver and gold lineup is a lot more set than the bronze. The bronzes can go like any which way, whatever you feel like is necessary here.
He's here.
Uldor, gonna have to discard a Freya or a Mandrake here. What are you more worried about? I mean, Freya is so
what does
much
Mandrake
value.
do
What does
in this
Mandrake
matchup, though?
exactly? And Aglace, you worry about Aglace at the exact
But
same
at the
time.
same time, Freya, like, he didn't get to grow his great swords.
It's true. That is true.
They can't chop 3 heads in one blow, Dane. They can't do it. They're not big enough. So
Yeah,
I
the only
guess,
reason
I guess
you
you
wouldn't-
discard it.
The only reason you wouldn't take it is if you absolutely didn't want Aglace to play it. Counter spy.
Counter spy here, but not, like I said, because both are playing spies without any
There's the
sort of support.
Recon easy choice.
I think this definitely encourages Casper to pass here to get that extra card back. And it's basically going to be Genja Unchained plus Herald versus Shoop. Round 3.
And I think that Kolemon may be in a position to play around Igni as well, since he functions more on a control matchup. So he's functioning more on a control side, so the points are more so what he can remove from your board and not so much what he can stack up. And now that the spy has been played, I think the Igni is actually going to be a little awkward for Kacper.
And I don't see. Well, there is a way for him to. Okay, let's look at it. Is there? Okay, so he's already played. Has he played Recon? Has kolemoen played Recon? Prime?
The Recon was the choice there from Yavin, so Recon's still in the deck.
Yeah, Recon is still in the deck because he can potentially try to Elven Merc Recon into.
Hattori.
He does have Dwarven Mercenary. He has two different chances through Barclay Elves and Hattori to counter the spying skull from Harrow Hounds out there. So this is very interesting. Like this round is going to be very, very intriguing here. I don't know how it's going to play out. This is actually very exciting here.
Yeah, I mean it's
he has a lot of power. Like kolemoen has a lot of strength in his hand. For a Shoop deck, that is very, very strong. Barclay, Hattori, Triss, and Shoop.
Yeah, and the Igni is tough.
And the
right?
Igni is awkward as hell.
Corsair pick up here. There's Igni going to
He
be
has to
mulliganing
mulligan
to
away.
Coral.
Coral is a little bit better.
Yeah, a little. Well, it is a little bit better. I mean, like I just said, it's a control style Shoop deck, so the big points aren't going to be necessarily available for Coral to actually squish down outside of anything Shoop could become, but that would be immune anyway. So
That Mandrake is weak.
Coral's not great. Mandrake's not great. Kacper may just not have the power here. kolemoen with Shoop in hand, Triss plus Hattori, Barclay, massive plays right
He's
here.
hovering over those two specials. He's wondering if he has any other to potentially utilize with Elven Merc, because he knows Hattori is a possibility. Hattori right now, I believe, can only target the Elven Mercenary or the Sage.
That would be correct.
Yeah, Hattori can target the Sage, so he can recycle those too.
Yes.
kolemoen's hand is straight up cash here.
I love Hattori into Elven Mercenary. Like it's just one more way that card is so good.
Yeah, but the Sage is even stronger here, I think. Well, it depends, right? But if he well, it depends on how much how much a ship can grow. Oh, the buffs go onto Hattori. Now he can res Ida.
And yeah, you can res. That's huge. Res Ida, res Panther. Ida obviously being superior in every possible way. And yes, that's pretty much it. That makes it the Ida res.
Oh man,
that is just another piece of immense power that kolemoen is holding here. Now, Casper's combo with Sigdrifa into Genjafret is going to be a lot of points. Coral, I mean, that Neophyte may actually be the best target for Coral.
I think you lead off with Krokir into Greatsword, right? So you can at least get some a free ping off the ship. You got to lead off with Krok into the Greatsword here, so you can follow that up with the Corsair. Because if you do it the other way around, it's gonna get zapped down before it gets to ping on the Greatsword there. So he'll lose points if he sequences the other way. So Kacper recognizing that, going for Krok onto his last remaining Greatsword onto his deck.
Do you think Kacper may actually Mandrake up the Greatsword so it survives a zap? I mean, we're looking at Mandrake. How much value is it really going to be?
No,
here?
you zap the ship. Like you always zap down the ship, not the Greatsword in the
Yeah,
third
the ship
round.
is what is generating points over time faster.
Exactly.
So that is.
You always target the ship here.
That is fair, but I am also curious as to how much value this Mandrake is going to really get.
I mean, it's looking to be 9 points on that Krokon crate. It's something. Though it's also 9 points on the opposing skirmisher right there, while Coral represents a total of 13 points onto that Reichhead Neophyte. So it's not looking...
It's not what you want out of your
like
Mandrake
in a
and your
short
golds.
round 3, Greatswords tends to have the upper hand, but because Kacper has not been able to grow any of his Greatswords, and has pretty much relied on the ships, he's looking like he's completely banking on this Harrow Hands now John Jafret combo.
And he had to use the Restore combo in the first round as well. That was pretty painful, and I mean...
That hurt. Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Shoop. There's the elephant in the room. Shoop is 100% a threat.
He will dump you.
Yeah, I'm gonna rock drop you.
He's
GWENT Open Shoop save.
You're making up quotes here.
He says that. Human Shoop save.
No, I'm the one that said making up quotes. I said dub. I don't think he ever says that.
No, that's just your style, man.
Thank you.
You're just a meme machine. You just keep pumping them out. Vadermaker does have does just eliminates the ship right here.
Yeah, you go for the ship, or you go for the.
The Hattori into Ida is also very good.
You go for the ship. You have to go for the ship, I think. Torian to Ida.
Customer is king.
I mean, yeah, there's
Why have
Yep, you target the
summoned
ship
me?
always. The Greatsword does get the buff. But, oh man, Kolemon's hand here is just straight up power. And that Mandrake and that Coral just looking so underwhelming. But that Herald Houndstooth Janja combo is so damn strong.
Yeah, let's talk about that. 12, 13, 14 points on the board automatically, plus the option.
Through Sigdrifa.
Yeah, through Sigdrifa. So then you have Genjafret that's going to knock out the skulls, and
Well,
assuming nothing.
it's technically 13 points because you're giving 1 point to the opponent at first.
Yes.
But
That
so
is
like
part of the combo.
But if Kolemon like were to pull a Dwarven Mercenary through Barclay, he would be able to counter that. For example, like he would be able to pull the skull.
Yeah, that
And buff
actually,
it. So-
and it's not unrealistic that would
Yeah,
happen.
like it depends. I mean, the thing is,
Except that there's no mercenary. Oh, hold on, I was looking at the wrong list. Yes, there is. There's
he
that
drops
13
Coral
point
now.
Coral, yeah.
So if Kolemon plays Vettermaker now, yeah, I think no matter what he does, unless he preserves Barclay for his last play, which he may, because Kolemon is Kolemon, and he's like, you know.
I mean, putting Casper
Very
on
smart.
putting Kolemon on putting Casper on Sigdrifa is like 100% at this point. You haven't seen Genji yet,
Yeah.
and you know that Herald
Herald
is
Houndstooth. Like, you're
strengthened.
expecting that, like especially if you're at the caliber of Kolemon, like you're definitely expecting this sort of play. So I think we may see Barclay be reserved as the last play, and I think that's what's going to happen here, because he has several options to prevent that. Not only the the Dwarven Mercenary, but the
comes
Macam
Shoop.
Guard as well will buff the skull.
He's got his big decoy, the 15 damage straight up, and the middle one.
The beefy is going to be the thick decoy. I think he's hovering over the thick.
Yeah, the decoy is pretty good for
thick decoy. Oh,
Hattori can
man.
res anything now.
The customer is king, but he
He's
just
just gonna res
goes
the
for the
Merc, of
Overmerc
course.
and Recon anyways.
Strength, my
There's
lord.
that half-elf hunter.
Not wanting to pull the Macam Guard because he wants that. He knows it's coming. He
Oh,
knows
yeah.
it's coming and he wants to counter it.
Well, the guard, if he pulled the guard, it actually would improve the chances of hitting the mercenary with Barclay. Is that not correct? If he pulled the guard right there, wouldn't that have made it?
No, but I
better
mean,
odds?
the guard also counters it. Because it buffs the
guard
skull
also
by
counters it.
7.
The
And
guard
he's
also
going to play
counters it.
Mandrake. He has to play Mandrake now and target the Dwarven Skirmisher or buff up his own Croc and Crate. Both plays are the same, just 9 points, which is just kind of depressing. Even though you have the huge combo, Kolemon does have the answer. Because even if I expect him to drop Vettermaker unless he's really afraid of not getting the counter to it. But at the same time, he has such a strong lead over Kacper. Like, we're talking
huge,
about
yeah.
19 points ahead of him. Like, Kolemon is 19 points ahead here after this Mandrake, and it's just...
Vadermaker's not great though, because you don't want to zap the greatsword heals next turn. and
Vettermaker's
there's-
also like 9 points as well. If you just... Because you're not going to zap the Greatsword, you're going to zap Coral, right? So...
yeah, 9 points. Not great.
Not great indeed. But that Barclay,
But there's
though,
been a lot of not great on Casper's side. 13-point Coral.
this 19-point difference here. It's all banking on the combo, and he's dropping the Vettermaker. Okay, so he has Door Mercenary,
Yeah.
Macam Guard. He counters this,
He has.
and Dwarven Agitator. He
Did you
counters
see the
this.
skirmisher already?
Yeah, the Skirmisher got Mandraked.
Then yes.
He 100% counters this play, and I'm
Took it to the
so
limit.
sure Kolemon did it this way. That's why he's pursuing Barclay as his last play here. He saw this coming, and
Yeah.
he's going to be able to shut down the skull. No matter what dwarf he pulls, he will be able to deny the bear spawn, which is something that Kacper desperately would need. I don't know if it would even be enough, to be honest, but...
Well, what are the alternatives for Sigdrifa? Does Sigdrifa have other options that are better? I mean, this is such a huge point disparity. It's like really.
You have to go. You go big or
gotta
you go
for
home,
it,
here.
right? You have to go for it, I guess.
Get up! Well, Fred!
And here comes.
I wonder why he stacked it in the... I guess he goes because he wants to play around Bomber. Double Blast and a Bomber.
Why he put it on the range row? you mean?
Yeah,
As opposed to
because
the arrow?
it's less points if you put it on the range row. Like you know when you crack the skull. Yep.
Yeah.
Mock him into
out.
the
It's gonna be the
guard.
guard.
No,
Oh,
the
it's gonna be
mercenary. Yep,
That's
countered.
But this is now,
Dead-eyed.
this is a pretty big play, but I don't think it's 30 points. So
Yeah, I don't think so either. It's strong. Don't get me wrong. Like it's 14, 17,
without the bear, though, I mean, you don't
17,
even get
18. It's a
close.
20-point play, but he really needed that bear. Yep.
Yep.
That's all she wrote.
making 100% sure that there's really no point
Kolemon
in playing
takes
that.
it, defeats Skellige Greatswords with Squaretail Shoop, which is considered to be a bad matchup, But Kolemoen proves why he's Kolemoen. He expected that play, and he preserved that Barclay Ellis till the end and gets his win with Brewer, and it's just one Nilfgaardian win away from advancing to the semifinals. Kacper has his back against the wall here. He has to get 2 consecutive wins here with Croc and Brewer.
Oh, but he's got to play. He's got to play Great Swords into Alchemy. That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal.
At least Kolemoen is not playing Vic of Aromatic.
That is true, but we saw how potent removal was there. I mean, Kolemoen had a removal-based Shoop deck, and the removal was just it completely shut down any really strong late game, forced Kacper into some really suboptimal plays, spending some pretty big cards in round 1. It looks like he's going to take a chance to get the win here, so he can come back. Unfortunately, he would have to come back on blue coin and play Great Swords against Alchemy, which is really makes it even worse.
It is the Empire versus the Filthy Tree People. Hashtag not biased. Let's go, folks.
Hey, Nilfgaard, if you think I'm such a lore expert, here's a little piece for you. Nilfgaard and Scoia'tael at one point were allies.
Preposterous.
Preposterous. Well, that's why you don't hear that. Well, I mean, Nilfgaard gave.
You teaming up with Burza? Are you crazy?
I mean, am I supporting Scoia'tael Shoop? Am I? I don't know. Between that and Alchemy, I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup here. Shoop generally, I mean, we don't see any weather options available to Kacper. And what is Kacper? Kacper does have Ida and Vadermaker. Weather does hurt Alchemy quite a bit, and Kolemoen is not running Vanamar. So if Kacper is able to get, well, you can play Brewer into Ida and into Vadermaker at any point because Kolemoen's going to be playing on all the rows. So making sure that weather is down at all times is pretty big. Kolemoen's just going to flip this coin around immediately, take the reconnaissance.
Are we going with the reconnaissance right there?
Put the Viper Witcher on bottom because it's probably going to be, it's still, you can still source it.
Yeah, it's the best, it's the most efficient way to thin. Now, a lot of people who are like getting back into Gwent and seeing like the current metagame wonder how a deck like Shoop became tier 1, right? Because Shoop generally wasn't considered to be a tier 1 deck in the past. The thing is, if one faction can pull it off, that is Scoia'tael. And the reason why Scoia'tael is able to pull this off is because even though you are required to run only 1 copy of each bronze card in your deck, which does severely hinder both your synergy and your mulligans and your overall consistency, Scoia'tael can afford this because of the true nature of their bronzes. Their bronzes reach full value without necessarily having to interact with each other. And they're also like very diverse, and they work really well alongside the factions silvers and golds. Like for example, Dolblath and Archer has extreme synergy with Scorch, while Barclay Ellis is a tremendous silver, and there's a lot of really solid, dwarves that reach full value as well, that combine both movement and buffing, and it's just overall the one faction that can actually do this. And it's a deck that surprisingly is quite consistent, but
because you have so many tutors, and it's hard to brick those tutors.
Yes.
Your Elven Mercenary usually pulls Reconnaissance, and that can pull anything at all. Barclay has a lot of different pulls, and you can even decoy Barclay and res Barclay, and he still has great pulls at the same time. And you can play the deck inside out, backwards, forwards. It's just you have so many ways of just staying around, and in some situations actually controlling around decisively, like Kolemoen did in the last round here. Shoop on the draw here for Kacper. That's pretty huge for the matchup here, because we've seen the matchups where Shoop just doesn't show up. A little flaky.
he's been pretty consistent for him.
Yeah.
Like, Kacper has been able to draw him quite. Or was that Kolemoen? Because Kolemoen, yeah.
Well, Khonshu didn't see it in 2 of the games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kolemoen.
But it was actually the game that he drew and the game that he won.
It's true. Yeah, it is true.
All intruders. Down goes the Guardian, one of the Alchemy's few, initial proactive plays. As they do have Makameo as a proactive play, but it does require setup as well.
There's the weather immediately. That's going to be generating a lot of value here.
Weather is one of the greatest tools against Alchemy.
One of the greatest tools against Nilfgaard in general. As I was saying before, it's because soldiers as well suffers, as we saw earlier, how it can just devastate in a long round here. And Kolemoen's in control here, so Kacper's just going to make this very, very uncomfortable for Kolemoen. He's like, do you want to play into this? I'm always going to be ahead. You're not getting your card back. The fog, it's like steam in a sauna. Kolemoen like a llama in a sauna right now. Really, really difficult for Kolemoen to actually get a lot of ground here, because he's going to be losing so much value over time from the weather, and being able to actually source Vadermaker as well Ida from Brewer as well means that two pieces of weather are going to come down here, and it's just going to be really, really hard for kolemoen to get this. To get these points back. As soon as Kacper can afford to play Ida and play weather and stay relatively close enough to take it in a card, he will.
If any of you are suffering tremendously from these horrible puns, I am going to publicly blame Panda
It's
for
Panda's
this.
fault. It's Panda's
He
fault.
physically forced us to do this,
Don't.
and yeah, it was just...
Moving right along. Kacper has a lot of power options here. Barkley is available, so Barkley is an early play to get things started. He needs to get back into this very quickly so he can actually end up playing Ida and stay ahead. But of course, at the same time, playing the lower commitment cards, playing bronzes that just function as keeping you in the round, as we talked about in Squaretel before. It's going to get him there. Make this maybe a little more enticing for kolemoen to pass. Just say, now you got the weather, and now, ooh, look at all these points you have. Maybe you want to pass. But kolemoen is not going to be having that at all because he needs to thin himself.
Yes, that's one of the things when you face John Calvé, one of the very straightforward approaches against this archetype, especially Alchemy Nilfgaard, is to dry pass against them if you lose the coin flip, as it is a deck that really can't dry pass themselves because they have to get the Macamails out of the deck, they have to get the Swallow Potions out, they have to fill up the graveyard for Ointment. They have to play long into a round to build up for round 3. They have no other option in that sense, so you know that they're going to play into that and they're not just going to dry pass back. So it's a very safe archetype and faction in general to dry pass against.
You think kolemoen decides to actually heal up the Guardian with Mandrake?
I mean, it's an okay proactive play, but it is kind of feeding the fog further. I think if he can afford to,
he's got to play something there anyway, or else. I mean, he's going to be.
I think he can just
the value is always going to be there.
Like the thing about kolemoen is he is playing Kahir, so you are encouraged to just, especially in this matchup, I think Mandrake Calvé to get that hashtag thick Calvate.
It's true, but the Mandrake is such a slow play for kolemoen to play just the Mandrake from hand, just to boost up Calvate. He doesn't have Vesemir to tutor it here, and.
Interesting. He's going for the.
But then again, I mean, Kacper has no way of destroying Calvate here.
Triple potions there. The 2 beers and 1 potion there through Calvate. Not the greatest draws. He's breaking a lot of his alchemy cards here. And he opts to buff John Calvé. He does have a 25-point lead. But
pretty good.
Pyrotechnician is looking to.
Pyro is so good against Nilfgaard, just like for the same reasons that Weather is. Probably, I have a feeling if Nilfgaard wasn't as strong as it is in the meta, the Pyro wouldn't even be. I mean, Pyro is already flex in Shoop. I mean, that's another appealing part about Shoop for people that, first of all, find Shoop generally as a fun card. Just weakening Calvate.
Great Marjoram.
Yeah, that was
such
huge.
a good Marjoram.
That punished kolemoen for the buff there.
Yeah, I think he should have just gone with that buff. I know he was trying to minimize the impact of Scorch, but I think he should just gone with that buff onto Triss. He got really punished here, especially considering that he's playing Kahir. And Kacper has knowledge. He knows he's playing Kahir. He saw it in the prior game. Oh man, that hurts.
But
the fact that he got a proactive way to shut down that carryover is so important.
Now Marjoram isn't. I mean, like I was saying before, with the Shoop list, you can really customize it to what you expect to see. You can customize it maybe even with just cards you prefer. A lot of these cards get roughly the same value as they don't necessarily have synergy with each other. They're just high value bronzes. So Marjoram is not always included here. kolemoen maybe didn't anticipate Marjoram as he's seeing this deck for the first time. But did he have a reason to not play it on Triss? Is the question. And he's playing the Mandrake from him.
Yeah, it was basically to take strength from Scorch, but it was just 1 point. I just don't think it was worth it. Now he does get the thick Calvate. He goes for it, but if Kacper is able to generate a 15 strength point play here or higher, he will be able to threaten kolemoen with having 1 card over him from round 3. And he's going for it. This is the perfect turn to Barclay, and he's definitely going to be able. With Barclay, he can easily get that amount of points. He's gonna punish kolemoen right there.
This is going to
going
be
for
really
that
hard
play.
for Kolemoen to get this card back at this point. I think he had an option, but at the same time, his hands were really tied. I mean, he had the Mandrake. He got hit pretty hard there with that Mardrome. That could be the turning point of this game, that Mardrome. Ultimately,
enabling it, definitely. Most
enabling it,
definitely.
weakening Kahir
Most definitely.
By 3 as well.
Especially because he knows Mardrome is a thing. I think that was a mistake by Kolemoen there. Like,
Well,
no matter how you look at it. Like, the buff onto Calvé, I think it was a misplay. I think it had to go onto Triss. Giving him that Mardrome was very, very devastating. And Kacper did not let that go by. I mean,
He had it available and
you should
everything.
expect that from the number 4 player on the pro ladder, right? Like,
Now, it's interesting. Kacper is not opting to play Ida. He's putting Kolemoen on the potential of having Vanamar, I imagine, having a clear. So as long as one weather is ticking, it's just a lot of value. You don't need to get greedy about it. And plus, there is going to be another round in which he's going to have to fight for it. So I think
he's giving him the pass here.
he is giving him the pass here. Was there a bet? I missed that. That was the recon, right? What was the other option?
There was Dwarven Mercenary. Dwarven Mercenary did it. Dwarven Mercenary was 5 more points, so it got him 1 point ahead of him. But he opted to get the Guardian, the Lesser Guardian, out of the deck so he could mulligan more freely, I guess.
I mean, the Guardian is so annoying. But I mean, it's the way you put it did give him the opportunity to pass here.
He gives him the pass. Like, if you're Kolemoen here, I think you take this. You take this. Like, he gave him the pass there. I don't get that.
I shall not.
This
should
could
have
have
kept
pretty big
pressuring, right?
implications.
This is huge. Like, now he has a bigger, even though he got Mardrome, that Calvade is still bigger than usual. It's still 8 strength alongside Kahir. Alongside Vilgefortz. Like, you don't care about the rest of your hand. You have Kahir into say Calvade and Vilgefortz. Nothing else matters.
It's true. Those are the bombs that really, really matter. Especially, we saw how
The rest of the hand is
amazing
just
Vilgefortz was in the
cards
last
that
game,
do
too.
things. It just doesn't.
Cards that do things. Magua, you're not disappointing at all. This tournament. Early Hattori here for Barkley is just going to start pouring the points on the board here.
The poison. Down goes the Macam guard. They're 23-point.
23-point silver just to get things started. Decoy available for Hattori or Broover, so huge value there. The Pyrotechnician will definitely see play. The Archer doesn't have any direct application in this matchup, although it's very good against Skellige. You can deny the skull. And then Shiru and Aglace are going to perform, I'm very, very sure. But Kolemoen on the other side just has so much power with Kahir and Vilgefortz just alone. And plus, getting those Viper Witchers out, getting full value on Broover right here. He is running the 10-point White Viper Witchers once again, opting to only run 2 Swallows, 3 Ales, 3 Ointments, and then, of course, the Mandrake Black Blood Silver package.
Now, I would like to have a look at Kolemon's graveyard again to see what there we
like
go.
Casper heard
There's the
you.
Guardian. He has a potential. He has a good ghoul there if he can pull it through Black Blood. We're looking at a pretty strong ghoul right there.
Is Vesemir still in the deck? Does Vesemir have a pull? Is Vesemir a brick for Vilgefortz?
I'd get Gatsper. Buddy, could you look at the graveyard again, please?
I'm pretty sure he didn't hear us the first time. We missed our chance.
I've got to get this stinking mess in order.
Big points there.
I think he went for the Lesser Guardian play because he was aiming to decoy Barclay regardless, and he doesn't have any more dwarves in his deck left, does he? So he knew that he couldn't pull the Mercenary. Unless he has a
Dwarven Mercenary. Yeah, that would be the line of thinking.
Well, he still has the Agitator, right?
The Agitator, but it's the Agitator doesn't have a pull though.
Okay, and by the way, he still has Macamails left in the deck. So,
the
so
Macamails.
he can pull.
Vesemir is A-okay.
Vesemir is fine.
Here's our chance.
Now knowing that his opponent has already played Decoy, he's gonna drop that down. Aglace is gonna find really good value here, regardless.
Yeah.
Shiru's the tricky one. Shiru's the tricky one.
Yeah, especially considering, I mean, Kacper got a little bit of a break when kolemoen had to Viper Witcher Brewer there, so that 11 went down. Asira is probably going to catch the Scorch, or Asira, if Asira gets buffed in any way, the Ghoul, of course. If kolemoen wants to play the Ghoul, that's also a very good target for Shiro. So I don't think kolemoen's going to play into Shiro at any point, though. Asira is probably going to be the thing that gets it.
I think Kacper, like, that's why he did it. That's why he was forced to take the Lesser Guardian, even though he wasn't able to force, even though he gave kolemoen the pass, because he planned on decoying the Bark Lane. If he took the Mercenary, he was not going to be able to do that, basically. So that's, if that's the case, that sucks for Kacper right there, because Reconnaissance is just two random bronze units. It's not like the top two units in your deck.
It is a random.
Even though Lesser Guardian was on top of his deck, doesn't mean that it was going to be one of the two pulls. It just happened to work out that way. So the Guardian there, basically giving kolemoen that card back, which is very, very key, as he's going to play that Azire onto the melee row. Going to return Roach.
Now, keep in mind, kolemoen on the red side, that Roach is his Roach.
I shall do as you call.
And returning the Elven Mercenary.
Probably, I mean, there wasn't a better option, and it does. I mean, I'm trying to think if that actually would. I mean, in Casper's hand state right now, that doesn't matter, unless Aglace was going to be used for a reinforcement of some kind.
Or an ointment.
Or an ointment. That is true. Yeah, that would be the play there if he wanted to do that. But
Ooh, this Power Technician is very well timed. It actually stops the Macameo, even though I think we're going to see Kahir here anyways. This is becoming awkward for Shiru though. Like, the more Kacper holds on to the Shiru, okay,
Yeah.
here comes Thick Calvate.
here comes
This
Calvet.
is the big boy play.
Let's see what he's looking at here.
Oh,
Ale,
there he
there's
is. There's
Vesemir.
Papa
Vesemir into
Vesemir.
the Ale, and again, a very clean Calvet here.
I forgive you
This time.
this time.
Now,
The question is,
is the novice? There is an ointment for the novice. Is that
yeah,
correct?
pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
There it
there's 3 alchemy cards, so he's not even gonna go for the Mac. Well, you would go for the ale. Oh no, because you can go for the novice here. You can ointment into a novice and get that one of the Macamails out here.
Careful, the Asira catches the buff, and that's going to be a Scorch.
Yep.
And if
And
they
you go for
both,
the
if
Mac.
Calvin catches it too, 12, 12.
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
No!
This is burn it down. Oh, devastating.
Wow!
Oh man, kolemoen
That's Shiro.
right into it.
From a liability to a win
Wow.
condition, that was, oh my god.
Oh man, that
The burn.
party took a bad turn right there. We were drinking and having a good time. Shiro came in, burned the whole place down. Just
That is
filthy.
so big for Kacper here. That is, that's massive.
Man. As the little green ball was going towards Calvin, I thought
Interesting
that's
choice.
Oh my
Important.
god, worst ale of his life. Oh man, he does catch up here, but he has a 12-point play and
it's
a
even
black
though.
blood.
Even after that, it's even. But Shoop's gonna have to do work.
Aglaze and Shoop. This is a wrap, boys. That Shiru takes it. That Shiru just denies the Empire. And part of me inside kind of suffers from this, but damn, that was beautiful though.
That was a risk
That
right
lineup,
there.
oh my lord.
I mean, Shoop represents potentially 25 points if Casper just
And
wants to go
Aglaze
against
is like
for
a
value.
billion as well. Like this,
Aglaze
it's
is a
just,
lot
it's
of
just,
points.
This is just like there's no way. There's
Gonna
no
go
way
for the
kolemoen can
hunter
overcome
here.
this.
We're gonna see the options. He's looking for the damage, clear hazards, deal 15 damage. He can.
I think 50. He could
just
deal
take and hit-
14 to Vesemir.
Just hit Vesemir right here. But you get the full value. You get all 16
you get
from
it.
this. Well, not all 16, 15 because of K here.
Yeah, it's still more. It's still more points.
Still more. One more, to be exact. Coleman's
And
got.
that just
I don't think he can climb out of this one.
This
here.
Aglaze isn't gonna,
That was a
tell him to
devastating
lie
Shiro.
still. You've not yet recovered, and then he's gonna kill him.
Now this series just got
Oh
a
my
lot more
Lord.
interesting here.
That Shiru, that's so devastating for kolemoen. That was a bad beer.
That was bad. That was truly
Get recovered.
gonna go
Take
ahead.
this route and die.
Take that right there. And kolemoen just won't be able to put the points together for Black Blood. So we're going to go into Game 5 here, and
Wow.
it's going to be alchemy, and it's going to be alchemy taking on What is left here for Casper? Is it the greatsword list?
Yeah, I believe it is the great swords list.
Great swords versus alchemy. Now, this is the thing. Casper now has to win with great swords against alchemy on the blue coin. That is a tall order.
Oh, man.
That is a tall order. That sure was just another highlight. Just another highlight in a series of highlights in this GWENT Open.
Shiru against Alchemy Nilfgaard is always so clunky, especially in round 3, but oh my god, did it find home there. That was a, especially after the buff it got, that was a 29-point Shiru. And it said Nilfgaard down to an 0-2 record for kolemoen. Hoping to get the win here in the final matchup. Whoever wins this one will advance to the semifinals. Kacper taking on his senpai.
This is a dream matchup here for kolemoen, I think, in a lot of ways.
And he's going to mulligan away the Macamail as we see Kacper with muzzle. Herald Hounds now, double greatsword in hand. Heim as well.
Muzzle,
now,
again, won't really perform super well in this matchup.
The thing about Heim here...
Heim can flip the coin around a little bit.
Heim does have, like... Heim is extremely accurate in this matchup if he utilizes to create an opposing silver. And he can go for the Guardian. Heim into Guardian is actually really good against Calvin.
Probably going to hold on.
Guardian is actually extremely strong against Nilfgaard.
And you get it 100%. Only a Seer, Guardian, or Roach
Exactly.
are the pulls for Heim.
I would not be surprised, especially considering he already has his Spy and Herald Houndstone in hand. So, you know, he's not going to be utilizing Heim to pull a cursed unit from his deck. So I think we're definitely going to be seeing Heim utilized for the Guardian here. The question is when.
No Skjal in this list either. The Genja Herald Hounds now kind of takes up those points, and also the Mandrake. So no Skjal here. So yeah, Heim into Guardian is very realistic.
And I think he's going to preserve that for later in the game because you generally want to counter Vilgefortz with it.
For
so
sure.
we may see it in round 3 potentially. The question is, how does Kacper target this matchup, which is generally an unfavorable matchup, and especially on blue. Alchemy Nilfgaard is extremely scary on blue. He dry passes. He dry passes.
As you do against Alchemy on blue coin.
Yeah, but with great swords, you don't really feel good doing that because you also you're at the mercy of like not having your resurrections do anything. Like, it's very risky. This entire match is gonna come down to how far kolemoen is willing to push this next round. That's what's gonna decide it. Like, it's gonna come down to that, and it's gonna be because I'm not sure what he does here now. Like, I'm not sure if you're kolemoen, like how deep you want to go here. Like, I'm very intrigued.
Has to go ahead and play Calvin.
That's a rebel.
Whoa!
Viper Witcher right
Arrest
there, hitting
that man.
his Emperor. Traitor.
But of course, getting Calvin in the graveyard is important because if kolemoen really wants to push you, he needs to make sure that Kair is active. So Calvin being used as a resource there is important because you don't really know sometimes what Vilgefortz is going to give you. You don't want Kair to be bricked. Also getting the Viper Witch in there also activates one of the ointments, but only one. But he only has 2.
Pulling that Mandrake is unfortunate, though. Unless he wants to utilize it, he could potentially Mandrake a ship and recycle it with a Zyre.
Oh, it's so good to Mandrake a ship. Especially, kolemoen makes this round go long. Mandrakes the ship, kills all the great swords. I mean, a lot of this looks pretty good for kolemoen. Very similar to the shoot matchup in which he was able to deny all the great swords, control the ship, shrink the ship. Muzzle is 16 points. Coral is middling value depending on if she even shows up. But also, you just basically need to hit a huge buff target if you have a chance, and kolemoen can kind of control that just based on the round length.
But the fact that kolemoen went for Calvate does leave the question whether he was like debating about having a short round because he wanted to make sure that he wouldn't break his Kahir later down the line, right? So he's definitely going to push here, but at the same time, you can make an argument for not pushing as much because, again, if you take away your opponent's res game when you're facing great swords, it could be equally devastating there. As we see the Guardian lead by kolemoen, but the thing is, kolemoen has to pack up his graveyard a little bit as well because he does have, ointments, right, which he needs to use.
Vilgefortz can help you do that, but Vilgefortz can also help you solve your skull problem.
This is a very aggressive lead by Kacper. It's basically saying, I want to get a massive heads up on you early on so that you can't get your card back because I can counter your spy with my own spies. That's why he let off with Herald Houndstone out here. We do see a counter for, this is very Like in a way he's forcing out Vilgefortz from him. He does not want to resort to this. He could, like, the ideal play is to just go for a. But he's gonna go for Vilgefortz. Oh man, he gets with that play, he gets Vilgefortz out of him.
Yeah,
round
that's true.
2.
So now that's there's Roach, so there's no worry. But there's K. It was good. It was good. Coleman made the right choice. Playing Calvin in round 1.
Look at
exactly.
the smirk. Look at the smirk. Oh, the smile. That is. Oh my God. The eyebrow raise.
It is exactly what Coleman was
got his
worried about
endgame
happening,
out of
and
him.
he got it. He made sure the K was not a brick from Vilgefortz.
Oh, that is
Deadly.
insane.
That is deadly. So much value from that Vilgefortz right
but he-
there.
ouch,
And he busts the
ouch,
skull. I mean, it was a
ouch.
50-50 shot, I guess. It's, 33.
The question is, do we see a pass here soon from Coleman?
Coleman has got a huge lead at this point.
Because we go back to like the whole thing about, he has 2 Freyas, he has Corsairs. Like if he doesn't give Kacper enough time to like fill up his graveyard, then but at the same time you're running Viper Witches, so you're gonna be shutting down those things anyway.
Yeah,
right?
they're going to the graveyard no matter what.
Yeah, so I guess you just.
So if anything, you
I
tap
think
him
you
out
just
here.
go with this and you try to like potentially even 2-0 him here.
I think that's realistic, especially with this lead here, especially with that huge Vilgefortz play, just putting him in such a commanding lead.
He kind of forced his hand
Casper's just
with
going
that
to try
play.
to make stuff going. He's going to play a Greatsword. It's going to get answered. Play another Greatsword. It's going to get answered. The Heyme Spear Maiden won't be able to pull a Greatsword because there won't be any. Because I'm pretty sure. Can Coleman answer 4 Greatswords though? Is the question. He does have.
We did say that expression from Kacper was happiness, but it may have also been kind of like,
what?
That had to happen,
Wow,
like-
the K here coming from Vilgefortz? That was a smirk of frustration.
frustration.
Man,
Of course. Like he
that's
gets
smarted
it
a little bit.
Yeah, like that's like a round 3 card out of the way. But the thing is, like, you're extremely vulnerable to getting 2-0 now, man. It's just.
Shots are blowing fair winds.
You can hope
That was like the
one
perfect-
day that skull will be will die.
Like he could have also like drawn Roach with Vilgefortz, which
He
is
could
hilarious.
have. Yeah. Which is if you're
was
someone who
so
subscribes to confirmation bias, happens all the time. All the time.
Oh man. But I mean, I guess at the same time he did get the information through Calvade in round 1, right? Like, because he drew 2 cards.
So Coleman's going ahead and just
mulligan,
using
though.
his Viper Witches right now to remove the ships. Again, the ship does represent a lot of points because it's going to be working on the ship. It's generating value over time. Working on the skull. So there's value that would eventually show up here. So Coleman not opting to control the Greatswords and instead controlling the ships, keeping Corsairs active, but also getting, it's just, this is a bleed. This is a huge bleed. Coleman's got a very, very comfortable lead. There's really no reason for him to let go of a death grip on this round here until he thinks that Kacper has a chance of pulling through, and then he passes. Go ahead, spend your card, spend your big play, and I'm just going to come back in round 3 even stronger with something like Triss, Vesemir, the ointments, of course, because he's trying to get those Viper Witchers out. Now they're out at this point, so it's possible that Coleman passes pretty soon.
We could see that from him. Kacper is definitely struggling here. He's going to drop the Great Sword. He's so far behind.
So far behind.
Like, the fact that he got the perfect Vilgefortz answer to the aggressive Herald Houndsnout, and then the skull buff the other skull on top of that, that is just like, that's insult to injury. Like,
Yeah.
you can't help but like laugh a little bit. It's just so ridiculous. Like, that just feels bad.
And I'm pretty sure Kacper can't do this in a card. So even I don't think there's like a crazy Heim pull. I'm pretty sure that this takes 2 cards. So Coleman, with that Vilgefortz play, not only gets a huge commanding lead and gets himself in a comfortable position to actually play his Viper Witcher so he can ointment them later, but also gets to get 2 cards out of Kacper on top of that. That is one of the most valuable golds you'll see, and Vilgefortz has been doing work in this matchup for Coleman. I can't believe he hasn't gotten a win with Alchemy yet.
But he keeps on pushing.
He's going to keep on pushing. Again, I mean,
With such
there's
a
also
lead,
the
like,
argument
you
that we
keep
have
on
a lead
pushing.
like this, just, if you're not threatened, bleed.
You keep on, yeah, exactly. And on top of that, like he still does have Cantrolla, which he does want to get out of his deck. But yeah, there's no reason to just keep on pushing. When your lead is so monstrous, but you still got a lot of spunk in your hand, you just keep on going for it. Down goes the ship. It doesn't seem like Coleman can answer this. Great sword, as 2 of them are down. Unless, there's really, he could Triss Reconnaissance into his last one, right?
Mm-hmm. He can get that, he has Triss Reconnaissance into the last. The Viper Witcher? The Viper Witcher is in the graveyard.
Yeah,
the last one.
Ointment. Sorry,
Ointment, yes. Yeah,
You can
Tristan
trace
to
into
Ointment
it.
just is just another just massive power play. The Ointment from hand is fine enough. In fact, would you not play the Ointment from hand, Mogwai?
Well, I think he's kind of trying to pull the trigger here. Yeah, he's playing Tris. You kind of just don't. Yeah, or just go like thin more with the Macameo. This is still 18 points. Like the thing is, you want big power plays. You want to punish your opponent for. Like that Herald Houndstone just got so dumped on, and it was a good play. It was a legitimate good play, but that Vilgefortz was just perfection for kolemoen here. He smells blood and he keeps on going. Down goes the ship. It'll need a few turns to take down that skull, though.
84 to 43 right now in the final game of quarterfinal 3. Match point for both players. Tickets tomorrow's semifinals on the line here. A matchup that kolemoen is highly favored in.
There's
a massive pass. So now Casper's going to have to do some math here and make sure that he can get this done in as few cards as possible. Knowing he's got a 16-point muzzle, Croc is pulling, I believe, the final greatsword.
Or Genji.
Or
Genja's
on, yeah. Well, Genja means that the skull will break this turn. So he will be able just to follow up probably with a muzzle on, there's not like a fantastic
Genja is 21 points.
If muzzle's going to take the round for you after Genja, you probably want to play that. Plus the greatsword is resetting. Plus the ships are getting value. I mean, greatswords has a way. I think greatswords can make up huge amount of points in very few plays, but Casper needs to play 2 cards here.
Maybe, just maybe, he wants to preserve that play and potentially Sigdrifa, the Herald Houndstone, and that is probably his way of winning because he knows his opponent doesn't have Vilgefortz anymore, even though Macameo is still a thing.
I mean, the breaking of this skull is going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
The muzzle is worth.
He has to go
for Croc.
Of an
Just a little bit out of reach there. Boom. Still can't get there.
And it is enough.
It is. Just
calculated.
Enough. There it is.
That top-tier Polish math,
that
folks.
Start of turn boost.
But going down 1 card against Alchemy. The thing is, though, that kolemoen played his most powerful cards here. Oh, man, but the Guardian, the Lesser Guardian. Oh, this is so tough. This is so tough for Casper.
You can't keep that, right?
Well, you still have to throw away the Spy, technically.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're giving your opponent 13 points.
Right now with the mouse.
Yeah, it's pick your poison, bro. Yeah, you gotta do.
Coral, 16-point muzzle, 6-point bronze. Coral, probably not going to be
Heim
huge.
onto Guardian doesn't even matter anymore.
Heim onto Guardian isn't great. Heim doesn't have anything else that's fantastic. Heim onto Asira, I don't think. I'm trying to think of how Heim into Asira would change anything really at this point since Vilgefortz already been played. A lot of the damage has already been done. The ointments are live right now, but there's a Viper Witcher in hand as well, so that's at least 2 removals.
Well, Azir can be utilized to deny ointment in a way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is that the most effective way to use Heim right now?
Yeah, it is.
Because Casper basically needs to get max value out of every one of his cards, and still it's looking a little rough.
A little.
A little rough.
Damn,
to be kind.
Man, I can't believe that Vilgefortz happening was nuts. That was so crazy.
Asira to deny Genja on the res for Sigdrifa, which is actually not a concern with his hand.
Still a great play, though.
It is what you would want to do, and then you get Roach back for Vesemir.
If magic dies, this world
This is
dies
looking
with it.
just so clean. So very clean for kolemoen. Coral may find good target after that Azir gets buffed from the Macameo. So it will find good points, but then he has a 6-point bronze and a rather underwhelming Heim, a muzzle.
It's probably not even going to hit an 8-point target. I mean, the AL gets, you're hitting 2s into 6s, and then you have to take the 6 before it buffs. It's hitting, it's turning 5s into 9s, so you can't muzzle them at all. Like, muzzle is probably not going to hit an 8 anyway, unless there's some way that he can damage something. So it's looking rough. It's looking rough. I mean, kolemoen just in a really commanding position. But I mean, it's like I said, I can't believe he hasn't gotten a win with Alchemy yet because it seemed like he's thinned to 0 in some games. He got caught with the dead reconnaissance and the spy in his hand in that one game, but it was close there. But this one is not that close. This one is looking great. He's got 2 cards on his. On top of all of that, he's got 2 more cards than Casper.
You
as if
can't
it
really
couldn't get
blame Kacper on his line of plays because I
No.
do believe that Herald Hound Snout lead put a lot of pressure on kolemoen. It's like, I want to force your Vilgo forts out of you. Round 2, so I don't have to deal with it. Round 3, and I'm still threatening you with a very, very big power play. But it just went so wrong for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely not. This one's not really on Kacper. I think he got really hurt at the end here. He's playing great swords, and he went up against pretty strong control lists here from kolemoen in both situations.
Looks no insult.
Oh man, these Freyas are also not really that impactful. Just
nothing
13
really got
and
going.
11 points respectively.
Stop the ships. Stop
kolemoen
production.
raising his left eyebrow. I'm not sure why, but he's doing it as he's hovering over. Like, the thing, his ointments have been a little bit hindered, but I believe he still has one more swallow potion. So that makes his Vic of Aro Novice not a brick. And the other one, like, may actually brick because he has 2 Macameos in his graveyard, 1 in hand. So it's not like kolemoen's, hand is as powerful either. But the fact that he has 1 card over Kacper and Kacper doesn't have, like, really any power left is definitely going to make the difference here, I think, as we're going to see the ointment onto the Vic of Aro Novice.
We're probably going to chop down that greatsword. Oh, the novice, right, the novice.
Yeah, he's going to go for... It's basically a 4-strength play here. Well... Actually, no, he has one... Wait.
Oh, he's got the ale. He's got the ale and a potion now.
Oh, because he played the L with Triss. Sorry. Yeah, he played the L with Triss.
Yeah, you made a thinning comment that was actually about Triss that that actually kept the ale in the deck.
No, then it's just all good. His muzzle is 12 points. Feels muzzle.
Feels muzzle. He's going to get an 18
This is perfect, then.
18-point Coral. I mean, you'll take that. In a matchup that's hard to get, like the extreme value that Coral can get, like in a mirror, let's say, you'll take 18 points on Coral. But I'll tell you what you won't ever want to take is a 6-point bronze. That's for sure. I mean, I think kolemoen played all of his games pretty well. I think that some of the highlights from this series, I mean, the Shira was fantastic. The first game was so good as well.
Yeah, you can say he got very lucky here, but we kind of forgot about that Macameo that lined up that beautiful Scorch against Goetel.
Yeah, he got unlucky in that one. Although that was a risk that maybe could have been calculated around. But he also got unlucky in the game before that, where he got stuck with the Cantarell and no pull
exactly.
for it.
So maybe it was karma.
So
it was a long time coming.
But I mean, that doesn't change the fact that we have gotten just great series after great series after great series. Another series goes the distance to 5 games here,
and
as kolemoen is now
takes
going to spend
boys.
these last 2 cards.
The Empire redeeming itself. Papa Vesemir for the win. kolemoen with that nasty round 2 Vilgeforce denying the offensive Herald Hound Snout. And he is too old for this
There's the black
shizzle.
blood.
That's PG. He's too old for this shizzle. Vesemir goes down, and black blood onto Ekimara, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen. kolemoen makes it to the semifinals in a very tight series against newcomer Kacper, who definitely did not disappoint.
I thought it was just a fantastic series. I think that we saw just a lot of all the different ways the decks can kind of play things in sequence and out of sequence. Lucky draws, unlucky placements of buffs.